Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
Wow. We're back. I love it. Dave, always bringing the energy. Dave, what I mean, I don't even know if it's a joke at this point, because I don't think we have episodes where it's just the two of us anymore. I don't think they exist.
So if there was a lead to bury, this would be the location in which we would bury it, but there isn't one, so we're not going to.
Yeah, there's an empty graveyard of leads waiting to be buried these days.
I'm still reeling from the energy that Dave just put out. Like, I don't know. I think this interview's over. That was it. That was the peak. Thank you, Dave.
I don't know if we're ever gonna get to live show status, but I'm gonna have to do that in person.
and that'll be your pop one day.
Yeah.
One day we'll earn it. You'll earn that pop.
I just went kind of overboard with the dreams and aspirations right there. There's no coming back.
You know, I'm picturing like a moment where you hold up like a 1, 2, 3, and everyone all at once, just all monotone, goes hi.
Oh man.
One day when we can all be around people again. Well, joining us today on the podcast is Tony Colella, the master model artist behind overseeing model generation for Marvel, G.I. Joe, Fortnite, Ghostbusters, and Power Rangers over at Hasbro. This has been a long time coming. Tony, welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Oh, well, thank you very much. What a wonderful intro. As I was talking to you guys before, a big fan of you guys' Instagram page. I've clicked on your all your links to all these pre-orders, much to my wife's chagrin, and I just keep buying toys. So thank you guys.
Thank you for making them.
Yeah, no problem. I collect numerous toy lines, as well as many other things. So thank you guys for sponsoring my bad habit or encouraging my bad habit.
I think in our community we call people like us hashtag enablers, right?
Oh God, yeah. I have a few people that are have blamed me and my addictive personality for getting them into things that they really didn't want or need. So yeah, it's good that other people are out there doing the same.
Well, speaking of getting into things and all of the things that you collect, we start off every episode when we have a guest by asking them, what are you currently collecting right now?
Okay. This show's an hour, right? So we can probably get...
roughly.
Okay. All right. We might want to put it at 2, but literally everything. But number one collectible right now is the 1995 McDonald's Batman Forever drinking glasses. I don't know if you remember those wonderful promotional glasses, but I'm obsessed. That, of course, I bought that, and then my friends are like, whoa, what are those? And then they start looking into it, and then they're like, well, wait a minute. It was Flintstones, the movie, collector cups. Then now I'm like, all right, well, I got to get those. But mostly comics. Still go, I'd like to go weekly, but I've got my pull box over at the comic shops, Chris's Comics up in Seabrook, New Hampshire. So a little plug there, but lots of toys. So mostly tons of stuff from Hasbro, obviously Marvel. Legends is what got me in the game. I'm still obsessed with that line ever since Toy Biz. G.I. Joe Classified, of course. A lot of the stuff I work on and with Lenny on and the team. So tons of that stuff. Mattel, all the He-Man Origins I'm super big on, and WWE Master of the WWE Universe is fantastic. Super 7. of course, NECA with the Ninja Turtle stuff, all their horror stuff, and anything nostalgic like 80s toys, Mad Balls, Cowboys of Moo Mesa, Inhumans. Like I'll get deep, Cops, like everything and anything that I can find for a good price.
Wow. We should have asked you, what don't you collect?
That's
have
the
been-
more.
As a more appropriate question.
Yeah, I could keep going, but I'll stop it there. McFarlane, I do like some McFarlane stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of like us, like you cover it. You being one person cover collectively what we both here collect.
Yeah. Oh, WWE, of course. All of the elite stuff I'm super into. I could keep. It's really like I can't stop myself. It's good stuff.
I mean,
I just love toys.
we've said it multiple times this, since we've been doing this pod, but it's quite a time to be alive as a toy collector, because there's like so much good stuff. Like I think historically we're gonna look back at this time period and be like, wow, this was like what a time.
I don't know if this is it, but I kind of see it as like everyone, kind of like our generation, kind of that 80s, 90s toy boom, is able to like kind of come back, and everything's exploding from that era, and just that we call it action brands at Hasbro. All those like toys like Marvel and GI Joe and Transformers are just performing so well. He-Man's back, obviously. So it's crazy. People from that like 80s, 90s toy era are getting like a resurgence. And for myself, I have a son, 4 years old. So when I see that stuff on shelf, especially like a Master Universe Origins, or he has like the second biggest Marvel Legends collection in the world, probably behind me. So like being able to provide him with like He-Man and like Merman, and he's a big Roboto guy. It's crazy to see that happen, in 2021.
So does like He-Man fight Spider-Man?
Oh yeah. Oh, all
Awesome.
day. All day, yeah. And riding a Jurassic Park Velociraptor, we get into it.
That's amazing. So getting into Hasbro itself, you've been with Hasbro since 2006.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your role there and how you wound up at Hasbro.
Sure, yeah. Right now, I'm the master model artist, but basically a manager across all those brands that you listed at the top of the show. So Marvel, Fortnite, GI Joe, Power Rangers, Ghostbusters, and then I kind of help out on other brands just because I've been there for so long. I help out all the kind of younger talent in the building on how to make toys, essentially. So when I growing up, I've been a huge, obviously, collector. You guys know, and comic fan. So I wanted to do something with comic books, and went to RISD. Got a major in illustration, but I kind of I dabbled in sculpting, and by the end of my journey, I'd sculpted a bunch. I painted a lot of Marvel, and I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I found this position at Hasbro for a model artist, which was awesome. It was super interesting. It had just so happened that Hasbro got the Marvel license. I'm like, okay, it's local. I grew up in Massachusetts. It's down in Rhode Island. It's local. They have Marvel. This is like the perfect position. So I got in. They didn't have anybody on Marvel at the time because they had just gotten the license, and it was like Spider-Man 3. I think your guy's favorite movie, right? Am I right?
Don't
Probably
put
the
words in
best.
our mouth, please.
Oh, the Norton Incredible Hulk, kind of Iron Man movies had just kind of hit. And Marvel Legends had just gotten turned over there, and I was a huge Marvel Legends fan. That's what got me in the game. I'd always wanted to work on Legends. Dream job. So kind of started working on that, and luckily they hired me full time, and just been working in the mall shop for, I don't know, 12 years or so, kind of dabbling in design, doing paint masters, creating all the paint masters for multiple brands like Marvel, GI Joe, Indiana Jones way back.
Man,
I
I
they
love those 2008 Indiana Jones figures, those 3 3/4 ones.
pretty sweet, right?
Liter- Literally, permanent staples on my desk
Oh,
display
that
are
oh amazing.
the Raiders of the Lost Ark Indy and the Sean Connery from The Last Crusade.
Oh, so
Permanent
good.
staples on my desk.
Yeah, and that's where I met Dwight. Was we were working on Marvel. We worked on Indie together. Um, and then GI Joe was working with John Warden. So met a lot of incredible uh, designers and uh, at this company. Just a lot of inspiration around. The best part of the Hasbro for me is there's artists, then there's kind of the marketing, and there's the engineering, and then it's like the social aspect to it. So it's this weird combination of all these different like kind of brain types, all these different thinkings, but somehow it works. So it's awesome to like have been there.
You guys haven't there across the board. It's like, and we've talked about this with people countless times, but like the team that you guys have there across all of the brands, whether it is GI Joe, and Lenny, or Transformers and
Hmm.
Lenny and Mark,
Hmm.
like you said, John on now, kind of heading up the Power Rangers stuff,
Oh yeah,
Stevie and Ryan and Dan and Dwight and when Laura was there, I mean, you
yes.
guys have it's like insane. Like you have like the 90s NBA dream team of of toy people.
Oh my God, yeah, and the fact that the company's allowing, kind of more social media engagement, and I had that opportunity to talk to a lot of people at San Diego Comic Cons and toy fairs and things like that. But it's awesome to be able to talk to you guys, obviously, since I'm a big fan of your page too. Um, but yeah, there's some incredible artists and marketers and people that just have such passion for toys in that, which is great. At a corporation, you can definitely find people that don't have the passion but want to do the job and do the job well. But we're lucky enough to have these people that do that job and love doing it. So it's amazing, and you really have to worry about or kind of look out for putting too much passion into it, because you can get caught up in the details, especially for artists. Like we're getting in there and we're noodling and we want to make something better, but you got to hit deadlines to hit maximum capacity at stores, and it's just we could I could be on a project for a year like noodling things, but you just don't have that kind of time frame.
Well, speaking of the creative process,
Mm.
as you mentioned, you work with a lot of different IPs at Hasbro. What are some of the challenges jumping between such different creative environments? Because I mean, you have stuff that's with the Marvel Legends, it's coming from comics and film, and then you have GI Joe, which is effectively brand new character designs, and then now with Fortnite coming in, and video game renderings. Like, what's
Yeah,
it like jumping from all of those different creative environments?
sure. There's a huge difference between a licensed property and a property owned by Hasbro. Um, there's a lot more, not more scrutiny on license, but you have more eyes on it, right? Like, because there's still just as much scrutiny on Hasbro owned IPs like Power Rangers and Transformers. That certainly has a ton of love, a ton of eyes, and a ton of people just kind of like, oh, is this the right choice? Is this the right choice? But when you're working with partners like a Marvel or a Lucasfilm or Fortnite, Epic, and Fortnite, you obviously have to appease them as well. So there's like a little bit more, just not pressure, but you wanna please them just as much as you want to please your own internal partners. So that's a huge difference in just like the process, right? So there's different gates and different approvals that you need to kind of get through to get to your end goal. And we to an extent internally you have those, but it's not like an external partner, and like keeping that external partner happy. We want to be partners for life, right? So it's an interesting dynamic, and then internally there's different teams, right? So for me, with all the different brands that I'm on, a Lenny works differently than a Dwight. I'm just kind of naming people that are on Fan First Fridays, and there's so many more, like or Loretta on Power Rangers or John Warden, and there's so many more people I could name. But dealing with them and dealing with how they work is it's kind of in the same system, but works a little bit different. Like some designers like to have a little bit more control. Some marketers like to have a little bit more control. So kind of like me being there for 15 years has helped me know what a John Warden likes, or know what a Ryan Ting is going to like, so I can kind of help and guide my team to kind of appease those different kind of gatekeepers. So it's an interesting, that dynamic alone is awesome, because I just like dealing with people. So, and engineering is, of course, is different across the board, and is one of the most crucial departments at Hasbro is the engineering department, just as much as design and marketing and mall shop and brand teams. It's like they work so hard. Did that answer the question? I think that was a lot.
No, absolutely. I mean,
Oh.
and it's one of those things that it's always fun to hear this process, because I think a lot of people, at the consumer level, right? You're used to seeing a toy either show up for pre-order online, or you see it in store, and like you see the finished product, right? You see the painted, articulated figure with all of the deco and the paint hits, and and everything in place, ready to be posed and played with and enjoyed. But like the fact that there are so many like little pieces that you don't think about, in terms of just kind of like whether it's an actor's likeness that needs to be cleared, and then like the model gets created, and then the engineers have to figure out how the joint system works, and to make sure that the figure can move the way that the character does, and like all of those little intricacies that get you to that final product. That's the stuff we love to hear about. So
Oh yeah, it's and it's funny because each department slaps the other department's hands. So design will go buck wild, and the engineering is like, no, you can't do that. What are you doing? Like, and then I'll come in and I'm like, oh, what if we put 5,000 paint ops on something? And like, no, you can't do that. And it's like, well, how about we do the mutated version of Tiger Shark? And then like people are like, no, that'll never sell. It will sell. But yeah, stuff like that. It's kind of funny, especially like character assorting and stuff. Just like obviously people have favorites, but then there's stuff that sells well, and then like the ratio and like how you build them, and like what's going to be cost effective, what's all new, what's not all new, is like such a ridiculous balancing act that some of these brands just do so well. It's difficult. It's just really difficult. There's so much work that gets into giving you the Wolverine that you've had like 20 Wolverines, but like there's a reason behind it, and also who doesn't want another Wolverine? I do.
Yeah, there's always got to be a Wolverine. There's always got to be a Spider-Man. It's
Yeah,
just,
you need the A tier. When you're thinking about on shelf, you really need some of those heavy hitters.
yeah.
And you look across the board from every toy company ever.
Someone's got to anchor the line, and
got it.
someone's always got to anchor the wave.
Yeah, and that balancing act is just super difficult, but somehow all that hand slapping works.
So you played a major role in the announcement of Hasbro's first Victory Royale series figure when Snake Eyes dropped earlier this year. What's it like helping to develop a new line from the ground up, especially on the heels of a rather successful product from another brand?
Sure, yeah. Luckily, I have incredible people that work with me, and I have a very talented model artist, Shanae, who just came onto my team, and she was brand new, just like Fortnite was brand new. And we put her on some Fortnite stuff, and she's been working with the design teams to develop that asset, and it was an awesome experience helping out growing her as an employee, and B, growing that brand to what it needs to be to kind of go up against a brand that's already well established on shelf. And then the working with design and then the brand teams were awesome. I love working with the brand teams because they're the guys, they're the keepers of kind of the line look, consumer facing line look for packaging, social media experience. So working super close with them, working with designers like Edgar and Kevin, and just like coming up with that cool pose, and just kind of delivering that new deco scheme for a character like that was awesome. And you guys have seen where that was like that was super cool. Obviously, doing Snake Eyes for Fortnite, but then like already knowing what was in the works before that was like, oh, this is awesome. But I can't wait for them to see all the next guys, the Chaos Agent, Midas, or I apologize if I'm butchering his name, but and Lynx for that wave 1 is just
Yeah.
and Ripley, like Ripley's out of
Meowscles.
control. Oh god, yeah. Yeah, Meowscles, exactly. So like knowing those were there and showing that Snake Eyes was like, yeah, this is awesome. The branding is awesome. The images that we're showing is awesome. The pre-order went really well. And then knowing that next like wave 1 was gonna showcase, I think it was at a fan first.
The first Pulse, or not PulseCon, the FanFest, Hasbro FanFest.
FanFest. Thank you. Yeah. There's so many events at Hasbro that I get tongue tied. So I apologize.
Keep them coming, man. Keep
Yeah,
those
oh,
events
yeah.
coming.
For sure.
Yeah. So like definitely that having that like first look was super cool, especially on seeing that on Instagram on Hasbro Pulse was like, and seeing the positive response to it was awesome, and just knowing what was coming.
It was also super well timed because it was right around when the skin dropped. So admittedly, I clock a lot of hours in Fortnite myself.
That's amazing. Yep.
So it was right around when the skin dropped, and I was super stoked because the classified line has gotten me back into GI Joe. It's the first time I've cared about GI Joe, and since I was like 12.
Yes.
Since you were playing with my old GI Joes.
Accurate. And when it dropped, it was just kind of like this weird social media moment. We were like, wait a second, Hasbro's making Fortnite figures?
Yeah.
Or is this just kind of like a fun little G.I. Joe spinoff thing? And there was literally crickets, like no information about anything. And then all of a sudden it was like, the teaser came out for the Fortnite figures, and everyone was just like, oh boy, here we go.
that was what was so funny about it was that kind of mysterious, almost like video game drop, right? Where it just like drop it there and just like see what happens. So partnering with Epic to time that was, oh my god, shaved years off of my life, and many of people of the team where it was just
it's amazing it didn't leak.
Oh,
in today's day and age, it's amazing.
Well, I wish I could go into everything on that, but the time frame that it took for us to like get that go, and then it's up on the internet and pre-order was insane. It was absolutely insane. So like it's awesome to have a partner like Epic, and then they trust us to like put this kind of product out. But one of the things that Hasbro is kind of excelling at is kind of speed to market, and just is there something new? All right, let's go. And then like it's like an all hands on deck, and then like everyone's just as passionate, and it's like might be a late night, couple late nights, but we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done effectively. So
the other thing too is like there are, like we were just saying, there's so many events that
Oh yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's a lot of time in between announcements, so there's that level of transparency is there.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And for you, for the company to be able to put, it's kind of silly to have a face. Even myself coming on your podcast, there's like hundreds of employees behind me when I talk, right? I'm not being a representative of Hasbro as I talk to you, but just that's where I've spent my professional career in the toy industry. Um, but just having people represent the product, there's so many people behind that process, and like you said, that pre-order for um, Snake Eyes was tons of people at Hasbro, marketing, design, engineering, model shop, and then people at Epic too. Of course, our awesome partner over there is just like giving us all this information. So it's there's so many people involved with this. It's incredible that we're able to wrangle it and then get it out effectively.
So you talked about some of the challenges that that come with working on a project like that, especially something under a tight deadline.
Mhm.
I feel like one of like the cliche, but it's always an interesting answer. Is asking an artist, what's the most difficult thing they've worked on. So, what would you say is the most difficult product you've worked on at Hasbro that you can speak about?
Ooh, that I can speak about. I have like 15 different answers. I'm going to start with one of the things that made me sweat the most was going to a show and event, and I had grown up like liking Transformers. But the mall shop would go to a toy event, like a toy fair, San Diego Comic Con, and we were affectionately called the Toy Doctors because the mall shop creates prototypes. We create, not just the aesthetic on an actual physical toy, but also kind of like the function. We have some guys that have been there forever, are just like master craftsmen. I have the title master in my department, but it's pale in comparison into some of the guys that have been there for 20, 30 years. But going to an event and then someone being like, hey, can you make this combiner? And they just like ripping it out of the pack and then on the showroom floor transforming a transformer and then like putting it together. Like I'm pretty good, but it was like sweating bullets because the show's about to open and I'm like trying to put Bruticus together, and I've never never played with the transformer like this before. And they're looking at me as the toy doctor at the show, the resident toy doctor at the show, and I was like, "Oh God, let's see if we can figure this out." But one of the biggest things for me was kind of developing the we kind of call it photoreal. Some other companies use like this is basically the face printing technology um, that kind of came in, and we're doing it across our theatrical figures for Marvel, and just developing those files, and like it was definitely trial and error on a lot of those. So coming up with that process, how we get that information to our vendors. You know, sometimes it would kind of come in like super dark, and like how do you counteract that? How are you doing the scaling? So being a part of that and the troubleshooting on that was crazy.
Yeah, that
Uh,
that whole concept is still, we're now like a few years into,
mm,
the bigger toy companies using that technology to, to create more lifelike,
yeah,
figures, especially in like the 112, and even Hasbro in the Star Wars line in the 3 3/4 inch scale, which is mind blowing. But
right.
that entire process, I think, is fascinating because it's like effectively a printer, right? Like it's actually printing the face on the figure.
Yeah, I can't go into the details of how it's made. I can't unlock the magic. To use Oreo as an example, it's a quick Oreo plug there.
Love a good Oreo.
Right.
Mhm.
But um, yeah, essentially using the different layers, opacities, and just kind of dialing in what kind of information needs to go to the vendor for that to be an effective file it was a challenge because we weren't doing it much on any of our. product, I think Marvel had started it. I don't know. It's been a while since we first started that. So, and that kind of leads into our like current product, because you're seeing, we talked about the Snake Eyes drop, right? Where that, and you guys saw that it was a digital render, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the transition from, I'm a little old, I'm like old school enough to have seen our sculpting department go from wax toys, like wax toy sculpting, and then transition to the digital realm, which is incredible. And I can't imagine that I came in at that and been there long enough to seen that transition, because there's something magical about seeing that old wax sculpting kind of method, and then now this digital kind of age has kind of hit Hasbro. And we were, when I first got there, and up until a few years ago, we were still making physical prototypes, and we still make physical prototypes too. We still make a ton of that, but the digital renders and like getting in, like I'm old school, so I was like, acrylic paints and airbrushes, and like just how you would make a custom figure is kind of like how we were making prototypes essentially.
Yeah, we saw a bit of that on the 616 documentary, actually, with Laura on the cyborg Spider-Man.
Yes, yeah, and she's incredible artist. But yeah, just that switch from that prototyping process to kind of digital reveals and digital prototyping and all that stuff. Like Hasbro's really good at kind of getting ahead of the curve a little bit. So they're always looking for that new, faster way or better way to work. So digital is kind of like that next step for prototyping. So sculpting went to digital, and like kind of the more model artist is kind of turning digital, and you're seeing that in the renders. You saw it for a ton of pre-orders, Ghostbusters and Fortnite and Marvel, Age of Apocalypse, stuff like that. So we're gonna keep growing. We're gonna keep getting better. It's just awesome to kind of foster that talent. But it's weird to go from airbrush to Cintiq. That's for sure.
So we started to talk a little bit about the process right there. But when designing a model for a figure, how does a character go from a panel on a comic, a scene in a film, or a render in a video game to that physical model, to that model?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It, it's crazy how quick, how slow, and how quick it goes. In terms of like a theatrical release, it takes a while for that company to get up and running and give us assets. And then once we get assets, we're up and running. We're like grabbing as much as our partners can give us, and just taking all that in terms of theatrical, all that reference, all that concept art, and like cobbling something together, and constantly getting updates from our partners, uh, and just sculpting, painting, and then all of a sudden, oh, we got to go back to sculpt on this. This thing changed, so it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, or whatever Paul Abdul said years ago.
I don't know, something with an animated cat.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's an interesting process, but never has it been easier with, for at least, I'm going to speak just from Marvel, just because that's my wheelhouse, and I've known that for years. But having like Marvel Unlimited and being able to go back and go through panel by panel, because one of the biggest hangups for doing some of these figures is the back view, because you
True.
never, like, if you're on Google, no one's putting up the back view of any of these characters, right? And there's not always like a library of turn art for these characters. But Marvel Unlimited has changed the game, because before I would have to like go back into my long boxes, and that's not easy. I don't want to go back into my long boxes and flip through comics. So Marvel Unlimited, go back in there, flip through how many issues of Infinity Gauntlet to get that perfect back view of a character. Same thing with Disney Plus, like having all these movies at your fingertips to like pause. So when I had worked on the Children of Thanos 5-pack for Amazon, um, being able to go back through Disney Plus and then go through the Avengers movies and like find those snippets of those characters to get all those details to really get in there. Because when we first originally developed those figures, it was concept art and it was kind of a couple maquette images, but to like go back and then go through the movie, and that's kind of like an important thing in toy making, is that's how people know that character. They don't know about the Scarlet Witch costume on set in that lighting. It's kind of translating what you see on film rather than what that actual costume looks like in regular light, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like a big challenge, is like looking at the scenes, compiling what that costume looks like when it's on that the red planet with Thanos, where everyone first saw Thanos and he looked like Homer Simpson pink.
Yeah.
You guys remember that that first teaser image?
Yep.
If we made him that color, we'd be in trouble.
I mean, that's a great example though, because I mean, personally, I completed the Children of Thanos, figure by figure, and then the Cull Obsidian build a figure.
Yes.
And to me, there's two things, right? So like, yeah, like a film accurate, a truly film accurate Cull Obsidian is awesome. Completely different than the one based off of the concept art.
Yes.
But there's still, to me, there's like this certain level of charm. Maybe it's because we're toy bloggers and like we love the process, but like I think there's something infinitely charming about like why the original Cull Obsidian looks the way he does. And it's like, no, he doesn't look like that in the film. Still a badass figure, but like ultimately that figure was made because you guys wanted to get it out in a timely manner, so that way it was out when because these toys are ultimately also for children to play with and kids to build. So like you want to have the big bad guys out in a time frame that makes sense for when the movie is on in theaters, and that's why we have what ends up being a concept art Cull Obsidian. But I still think that's cool. Like it's like a cool story behind why he's dressed that way or why Proxima Midnight's painted the way that she's painted. Like it's because of concept art, and you kind of have a piece of Marvel Cinematic Universe history in toy form.
100%. And it's funny because you think about it on the flip side, like we could easily just do a concept series, concept art series, right? And then now we're, you've got your film accurate Cull Obsidian. Here's the, concept art version of that character. And for me, that's desirable too.
Yeah.
Some of the concept art for Marvel has been really crazy, and it's just funny to like kind of think of it on that flip side. Like we would totally do a concept series. You've seen it time and time again, a concept art series coming out. So
yeah, like when the Star Wars team produced the Makari figures.
That's what I was thinking too.
Back in the day, and I think Funko's doing it now with Pops. But like it's a part of that. I'm air quoting heavily. It's not canon, but like
I can see them.
it's still a part of that story's history, and I think understanding that process is cool.
Yeah, and we're almost ahead of our time before the movie comes out. If we do the concept, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
we're even thinking about like the gaming greats or any other stuff that's not canon. You get to really kind of see more of what these characters are than what you're used to.
Oh, definitely. And some of the concept art, if you look through like the, concept art Marvel books, I just keep going back to Marvel, but if you look at those concepts, some of those concepts look closer to, what it looks like in the comic than what shows up on screen too. So it's pretty crazy to kind of go back and hit those characters.
And the comics is, I mean, again, sticking with Marvel, but like I'm totally obsessed. I can't wait to actually see it in person. But the 1990s modular Iron Man,
Oh my
like
God, yeah.
that's a figure and a form of Iron Man that is so near and dear to many of us because of how he was featured on Spider-Man the animated series, and of course like the cartoon and the comics during that time, obviously. But like
Yeah. Marvel vs. Capcom.
this is like really the first time that figure is being translated into like a true physical form of that character. Like what's it like taking something that's really strictly 2D and turning it into, a 3D model, 3D rendering.
Oh, it's so rewarding as a fan. That's that's what I'm here for. And I'm gonna go super obscure, but I love getting into the obscure characters. Like, I joked about mutated Tiger Shark, but even just getting Tiger Shark in the
Yeah.
line is ridiculous that we're able to get those characters out. So typically, if you see any like super deep cuts, um, you know, design and engineering and myself would kind of meet and come up with some assortments. But if it's a deep cut villain, it's definitely my influence, like Tiger Shark or Whirlwind. Like I can't help myself when it comes to that stuff. So seeing that and letting a company trust us to like put it out on the shelves is amazing.
Or next wave Elvis MODOK.
Oh, no one saw that one coming.
No. So full disclosure,
Yeah.
another friend of the pod, Khalil over at Caster's Corner, we recorded with him. By the time this airs, I think it'll be a few weeks out still. But we had a debate.
So brief spoiler alert.
Yeah. So when the Agent M posted that he was going to be revealing what that box was, we had like a 15-20 minute long conversation about what we thought was going to be in that box.
Yeah.
And when it was revealed, I actually texted Dave because he was at work. I was like, we could have guessed until we were out of oxygen and
No way.
and dead, and we would have never guessed it in a million years.
Absolutely no way. Yeah, it was awesome. I'm super stoked for that one, just because of how ridiculous it is, and I think the thinking behind a lot of that was kind of you're looking at kind of what we'd done, and there wasn't as many surprises. I think just kind of like thinking design theory, just kind of like what can we shock people with, and what do you think? Did we shock people with that one?
I think coming off the heels of giving everybody almost entirely every MCU figure that they've been asking for quite literally 12 years. Well, just about 12 years, with like maybe the exception of like Surtur, who was, I mean, awesome, but like we didn't have to wait 12 years for him.
Yeah.
But like the other ones, like, so coming off of that, I think I think everyone was kind of assuming like that there's got to be this other like, and I mean, we still haven't had all of there might be more reveals, so I might be putting my foot in my mouth, but I think everyone assumed that it was going to be like another MCU reveal. So I think that first and foremost, you had everybody convinced that like, yeah, I mean, that's what we thought it was. We thought it was going to be an MCU. Yeah. Or a what if, with the upcoming what if show on Disney Plus. Yeah. But, I think we all thought it was going to be MCU related. So you had us fooled there. And then to go so obscure and at the same time figure out a way to reuse some of that amazing MODOK figure that you guys already put out, like, because like that's one of those ones where you make that and you're like, okay, unless we put out a different painted MODOK, this is a mold that's never going to get used again. Like there's nothing else that uses this. So to find a way to reuse a majority of that mold and make something absolutely insane is, I mean, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, you fooled everybody. Congratulations.
It's Jeff the Shark as an accessory good.
Oh my God,
yes.
Jeff the Shark was so good. And just a peek behind the curtain was that kind of rock and roll MODOK was thought of as we were developing standard MODOK. So we had that in the plans this whole time, and it was just it's just like you said, like how do you reuse this tooling, but also make it super special, super weird.
So as you're saying this, Dwight just posted a picture of of World Domination MODOK at Disney World with
perfect.
him.
It's so good. I love
hanging
that he's
outside of Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's amazing. Good for him, carrying around. This is like highly sought after early model.
It's a big toy too. It's a big thing to carry around to Disney World.
What an animal.
I would have loved to have been on the bag check line when that.
What is this? Imagine if he got detained.
Sir, we can't let you in with that small Elvis thing.
Yeah, I love that it shoots cheeseburgers.
And the microphone controller.
Yeah. Yes. That was awesome to be a part of that project because of how ridiculous it was. And then, of course, one of my really good friends, Anthony Petrie, he does a lot of packaging and branding at Zombie Bacon's. Yeah, he did the packaging for illustration for the original MODOK or the mainline MODOK.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also worked on this whole kind of experience.
The gear case and everything. So good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's extremely talented. So it's awesome. And I worked with, or I went to school with him at RISD. So we both graduated together, and it's just, really good friends. And again, like I had no connection to that team using him. And all of a sudden I found out he was on the project. I'm like, oh, this is awesome to be able to, work with a friend and have something on shelf, and like we can say that we worked on this together.
So speaking on again about like all the different things that you get to work on, and all of the brands and IPs that you've worked with throughout your career, if you could snap your fingers and make any toy or collectible tomorrow, anything, like world is your oyster, absolute, blue sky, what figure would you make? What model, what figure, what toy?
Oh, I would literally, I'm such a fan of the 80s toys and that like toy boom. I would make a mad ball of literally everything you've ever thought of. Like NECA scratched the surface. Scratch the surface with horror toys like the Freddy Krueger mad ball and like the Alien mad ball, but I just keep going. I wouldn't stop. I do like Sharp Tooth from Land Before Time mad ball.
Nice.
Yeah, right? Like just really get it.
That is a good call.
Like Ludo from Labyrinth mad ball. I don't know. I just wouldn't stop. I just keep making mad balls. But besides that, I would definitely bring back Street Sharks.
Oh, yes.
Because they're so awesome. Just the idea of sharks just ripping up pavement and then like that road just being completely undrivable. but they kind of stop this like piranha dude from doing something weird in a pond. Like it's awesome. But they just completely destroyed the streets. New York is now undrivable.
I mean,
it is already, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say they don't need any shark help to. It's not as bad as New Jersey, but it's rough.
But yeah, Street Sharks is number one, man. I would love to. It's already out there, but I would love to work on WWE, anything wrestling, anything He-Man, because that's my OG. That's like where it all began for me was Masters of the Universe. So I'd love to work on some of that stuff. Obviously owned by a competitor, so probably not gonna scratch that itch for anytime soon. And then Dragon Ball Z, I think would be awesome. I dip a little bit into anime just because you guys know I collect everything. But yeah, some of DBZ would be awesome to get into. There's so many toys that need to be made, but there's so many toys being made. It's crazy.
If Gargoyles can make a comeback in 2021, Street Sharks, it's got to be right behind it. It's got to be on its heels.
Thank you. I love that they like ate cheeseburgers instead of pizza. Like Ninja Turtles had pizza, but Street Sharks were like cheeseburger guys, right?
Yep, that was the whole thing.
They
They were shark versions of the turtles, and they all had like the same. There was one that was like had like I think it was the hammerhead shark was like the bad attitude one, like Raphael. You had
Yes.
Blades on his rollerblades. That was like the goofy
Yes, fine.
Michelangelo type. You know, they were archetypally the Ninja Turtles, but sharks.
There's a theme going on throughout this conversation, and it's tiger sharks, right? So it's sharks, and then like the underdogs, right? Like Ninja Turtles was sweet, but come on, street sharks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So we have a friend of the pod, and Dave is going to ask you a wrestling question next because you kind of queued up a fun segue there. But before he asks that question, I have to say this just because I found it one of the most fascinating things ever. Yeah. So we have a friend who's a pro wrestler out on the West Coast, Yuma, and he took his son to a local arcade out there, and they had like a whack-a-mole type of thing. But instead of whack-a-moles, they actually used the molds for the Street Sharks hand puppets.
Good God.
As like the pop-up things that you had to hit. And when he posted it, I nearly fell out of my chair because I was like, how did you leave that arcade without ripping one of those out of the machine? And he was like, I thought about it. Because they absolutely were... straight up, they were just the Street Sharks hand puppet molds.
Okay, that's definitely something I'm watching on eBay right now. It's the Street Sharks hand puppets, but to have a whack-a-mole game with the Street Shark puppets,
yeah, and
incredible.
And obviously, like, it wasn't like a Street Sharks branded thing. Like they just got the mold from somewhere and just cranked it out. But so that's.
Can you send me that post, or was it a picture?
I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it.
You'll make my night. Well, you've already made my night by inviting me to the podcast, but it'll be the cherry on the sundae.
Well, thank you. So while Eric looks for that, we can talk about your profile image, which is a Scary Good Road Warrior Hawk cosplay. So the world wants to know, are you a big wrestling fan?
Yes, world. I am a big wrestling fan. You heard it here first on the pod. I've been lifelong fan since Hogan Savage years, the rock and wrestling connection all the way up until now. So like huge wrestling fan. Funny thing is that's obviously half of an incredible costume. You can't have Hawk without animal, and designer Lenny was actually the animal to my Hawk. And really funny story and fairly embarrassing. We also won best couple at our Halloween party that night. So my wife was just sitting in the corner, not upset, but she knew it was going to happen, that me and Lenny were going to win best couple. So his wife and my wife were kind of just watching us take the title that night.
Can you give us an "Oh What a Rush"?
Oh, what a rush! That was probably terrible, but
you're trying to be quiet. I understand. It's 10:45 at night.
My kid's sleeping upstairs. My wife
at nearly 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. That is as good, I think, as we're gonna get.
You guys are so positive. Thank you. I love the positive reinforcement.
We're proud of you. It's great. You did great.
Thank you.
So this next section is before we wrap things up with you. This is our audience Q&A. So we posted a story on Instagram, as we do when we have guests, and we invited people to ask questions. Some of these will be from specific people, and others will be kind of an amalgam of a few questions that came from like a bunch of people that all asked something similar. So, Dave, do you want to start out?
Amalgam. You asked me about what IP I want to work on. What figures? Amalgam Comics is one. You brought up Amalgam. Imagine that. Dark Claw, Spider-Boy, Super Soldier.
That would be amazing.
If we could just get Marvel,
Who has the
DC.
rights to that now? Amalgam
It's
Comics.
like joint between, right? And it's like, but that's the dream project. But very,
Hey,
very far from
you know
happening.
what? With the way that people are absorbing other people's licenses and companies are,
Seriously.
anything could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen.
Yeah.
Sorry I interrupted, but that you sparked that that excitement. The excitement that only Dave can really bring to the table with that awesome opener.
Well, Dave, why don't you keep us going with the first question from our Q&A?
The energy only gets better as the show goes on. So the first question from the Q&A. What is your favorite model that you've ever worked on and why?
Okay, definitely MODOK. Just because of the challenge. Also because I was in the designer seat on that bad boy. So having that kind of control over like the end product was awesome. Like and then not only that, but trying to match just come up to the challenge of like, can I match the Toy Biz in quality? Because for me, Toy Biz is just an incredible and what let me back into toy. So it was an awesome challenge, and I loved working with the sculptors, the mall artist Laura, um, on that figure, and just trying to match with what Toy Biz had done and Jesse had built with Legends is just like a weird kind of nerve wracking challenge, but I consider that my second child. My Oh What a Rush was very muted because of my child sleeping upstairs, but the second child, he would have liked me to scream that from the top of my lungs.
Yeah, that I think the two like kind of gold standard Toy Biz figures, even to this day, like as old as they are MODOK and oh my god, his name literally just left my head. The guy who controls like the TV universe in
Mojo. Oh,
Mojo.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And those were the tail end.
yeah, those two Build-A-Figures to this day are still incredible, and for what it's worth, from the opinion of one guy or two people, I mean the new MODOK, I think you lived up to expectations on that figure for sure.
Awesome. No,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you guys. Again, it was like being a toy fan and a Marvel Legends fan. That was super nerve wracking. So I'm glad people are digging as much, if not more. So makes that figure makes me happy.
Next question is from friend of the pod and fellow Hasbro designer Mark at Overspray Studios asks, and he told me to ask this very specifically. So, what is the best food combination you've ever eaten?
Food combination ever eat, or weirdest or best?
He said best.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought we were gonna get weird with it, but best food I love a good ribeye. A ribeye cooked. I gotta go medium because I like the fat to render a little bit. With a risotto on the side, maybe like an asparagus risotto, nice and cheesy, creamy. That's the best food combo I've ever had. I've eaten some weird stuff, so I figured Mark was going to go into the weird.
Well, now that you've kind of queued yourself up for that, I feel like you have to give a weird answer too.
Okay, weirdest. Peanut butter Twix dipped in nacho cheese straight from the can, and it tasted like cheesecake.
What?
Yeah.
So a peanut butter. So you're talking like you're talking like when you go to like a sporting event, you get that little cup of cheese. Like
yeah. Essentially, it was in college, obviously, and I had I had nothing to work with.
Oh, you mean this wasn't yesterday?
This way, I'm eating it right now. Yeah, it was like this gross cheese that you would get in the calf, and peanut butter Twix from the vending machine. I was like, I'm gonna dip this in this and see what happens, and boom, cheesecake. Now I haven't had it in 20 years or so, but I bet it still tastes like cheesecake.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. One of these days, we're gonna do an Instagram live.
Yep.
We'll do it together, and
okay.
we'll dunk and eat and either vomit or celebrate or whatever.
Only I agree to this 100%. Only if we get Mark Maha to join us.
I don't know if he listens to the show. I know he follows us on Instagram, so we'll post this clip. We'll post this clip. We'll propose the challenge. Instagram does that thing where like 3 of us can all be live together. And Dave, I'm not gonna, since I'm the one volunteering to do this, I'm not gonna make you eat a Twix and cheese.
I'm really interested to see what this tastes like after so long. My taste buds have matured a bit, or maybe died off. I don't know, from eating too
I'll
much.
watch.
See, that's the kind of energy we're talking about. Like, yeah.
You're such a good brother. I love you so much. You're such a good brother.
Thank you.
Dave, next question.
Friend of the pod, Dave at CreepyNJ, asks, do you have a favorite line to sculpt for in general?
Ooh, okay. Well, so I don't sculpt. Unfortunately, I used to sculpt way back in the day. Back at RISD, I used to do a lot of sculpting. I did some freelance sculpting before I got to Hasbro, but I don't actually sculpt anymore. But my 2 favorite lines right now to work on, and I do the paint masters more decorating with color and all that. It would be Marvel and GI Joe. Those are just 2 things that I've kind of worked on or loved since childhood. So being able to contribute and hopefully represent these characters in the way that everyone else holds near and dear. That's my favorite part of the job is kind of taking what I held and cherished as a child, and like kind of hoping everyone from my generation, younger, older, appreciate them the way that I do, and then hopefully I'm representing it in the way that they like best.
And I have to say one of the earliest things that we did with Hasbro professionally was we attended a round table that was a GI Joe one, and and Lenny and the team were on that call. And I got to tell you, the people it was like us as like a general toy blog, and then literally everyone else that was on there was a GI Joe specific blog. And they had questions about the PMS colors, and they had
Yes.
they wanted to know why certain colors were used where they were. They complimentary, like they just wanted to know like what went behind the decision making to use this green instead of that green. Like we are learning so much about the ins and outs of the GI Joe community through the classified line. Like you guys have to know. Like they're really like holding you guys accountable for decisions.
and there's thought process of like, if we go here, we can get here later on. There's a few steps ahead that we're thinking too. So it's not always a bungle or kind of just, this isn't not bungle, but this isn't my version, right? So maybe it was someone else's version. And the cool thing is I've seen some archives where you actually have the PMS colors on the old archived designer inputs on some of these old Joes. So it's kind of awesome to see these PMS, and I work in that world all day, every day. I have these 6 different PMS books, excuse me, books that I'm in all day. So it's definitely something that people don't take for granted. So and it's a lot of planning too. But also that it's awesome to work on new brands too. New to me, but I've known it for a while, like Power Rangers and Ghostbusters, and having model artists that work on those brands for me and like do their best to kind of work with design and come up with these awesome oddball characters. That there's so much work that I keep going back to GI Joe and Marvel, but that's like been most of my wheelhouse at Hasbro. But there's there's a ton of artists that are working really hard to represent these characters the way fans envision them, and collectors envision them too.
Yeah, after after the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie comes out and we can actually ask questions
Sure,
about
yeah.
it, we're gonna have to revisit Ghostbusters. We haven't ignored that you do work on Ghostbusters. It's just we know it's kind of like a why bother at this point? We got to wait to see the thing
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
No,
the mini puffs are really all we're aware of
Yeah.
at this point.
yeah,
And they look adorable.
they're incredible. And the retro line, I'd seen some stuff. Obviously, the Fright feature.
Yep.
Retro guys are fun.
Toilet Terror, right?
Yeah, God, yeah.
Fearsome
Like
Flush.
Bug
Fearsome
Eye,
Flush.
yeah,
That's what it is.
Fearsome
I'm
Flush.
sorry. Oh man, they're gonna revoke my card.
That's it. There it goes. But yeah, the design team is hard at work on uh, those brands as well. So yeah, you guys know I like the weird. So
Yeah. Well, the last question that I have from from our followers is another one of those combination ones. This was you mentioned Power Rangers. This is actually a Power Rangers based question. So,
sure.
with so many different iterations of the Power Rangers and different villains to cover, how does the team determine which to make next? There are a lot of requests for the new Netflix Dino Fury Rangers and more civilian characters like the Rangers in plain clothes and characters like Bulk and Skull.
Sure. Yeah, just a look at the process. I don't have a direct correlation with kind of what the lineup looks like. That's more marketing and design. But they're constantly meeting about what is next, what's now, what's next. Uh, so, I can't answer it as much as I'd like to. Um, but they're always looking at what can we put out there. Dino Fury, actually, my son just started watching it full time, so I'm very well versed in some Dino Fury now. But yeah, it's kind of like the way they kind of look at it, just the way kind of Marvel looks at it. What's happening right now? What's our legacy? Like Mighty Morphin or in space and stuff like that, and just like what's that magic ratio? What's that mix of characters? So I don't have anything specific. I'm kind of generally talking about it, just because I'm not part of that process. But that's kind of like the idea is pulling from this and what's gonna be a wow for this, and like how do we troop build this, and how do you finish off this team here. So it's kind of like the thinking across all brands really is maximizing on shelf.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, the other thing too that like we're always, especially now, when questions like this come up, at least to us, like it comes up in conversation, with people on Instagram, in the comment section and everything, with so many different like virtual events and con exclusives and the idea of like store real estate space, on the shelf with with no more Toys R Us out there, in the US. You have to think too in terms of like what's going to actually fit on the pegs in the section you're used to seeing Power Rangers figures in, right? Or anything really.
Yeah.
And it's always, again, like it's always interesting to kind of hear that consideration and like that process and like how you're kind of planning ahead but also thinking behind, because like you have all of like new and old and
Oh yeah, that one Mighty Morphin fan is saying, "Oh, why can't I finish my Mighty Morphin collection?" But then at the same time, that Dino Fury fan is, "Why can't I finish my Dino Fury collection?" Right? So you're trying to hit every aspect of this brand, and Dino Charge, and like there's so many different segments of that brand that's incredibly and equally as weird and wonderful.
Like iGuy.
Oh my god, iGuy is out of control. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite ones as a kid, going back, like
Oh.
the Bandai, right? Yeah, the
Oh
Bandai
yeah.
figure.
Oh yeah. No, Goldar was my dude. Goldar and Zed, and we got them out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But those guys were. Oh, I just love the designs on that. But iGuy is awesome, and there's so many more monsters too that the company's looking at. So yeah, it's just a mix and like trying to appease this fan segment, this fan segment, this fan segment, and when you watch these fan first Fridays and PulseCon and all those awesome events and listening to the designers talk, like you can hear it, you can hear the passion, you can hear all the research they're doing and like trying to get in there and trying to get everybody. It's a never ending workload too.
So, Dave, would you like to fulfill your role as this show's James Lipton and close us out?
Yes, of course. Our final question to all of our guests: what is your favorite and or strangest piece in your collection? It can be one of each. It can be both.
All right, you guys got another hour.
For you, all the time in the world. Our
Yeah, of
longest
course.
episode was almost 2.5 hours. So
That's awesome. That's amazing. I'll try and keep it pretty brief. But one of my favorite things, and it's up on my Instagram, was I have a full costume of the Mohawk Mogwai from Gremlins 2 that I created for one of those famed Hasbro Halloween parties. And that thing is absolutely huge because the wingspan on the ears. So you think about it. Have you guys seen the movie Gremlins 2?
oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, obsessed, obscure, and awesome stuff. But the ears on like a Mogwai are super huge.
Oh my
So
god, I'm
like
looking at it now. I didn't scroll this far back on your
you
Instagram.
gotta
This
go.
is
You gotta go deep.
insane.
Yeah.
I think I
So
started
that's
following you around when you posted the legend sculpture that
okay.
you were restoring. I'm sending this to
Sure.
Dave right now so he can see it.
Oh yeah, check it out. That's my favorite. Like just that head is sitting in my garage, and like the ear like wingspan is like it's like 3 feet, 4 feet like across. And I was just entombed in that costume at the Hasbro party where I just like stood in the corner of the party.
That's
Just like
amazing.
oh thanks yeah it was that's my favorite like weirdest my weirdest thing in the garage. It was just like every time you open the garage, there's like this weird mogwai with a 4 foot wingspan of ears staring at you with a. So that's one of my favorite things. And just at my desk at work, there's some just awesome odds and ends of kind of history. One of the coolest things I own is I actually got because of the history in that building in Rhode Island. Uh, for manufacturing all that stuff. I had worked with, as I kind of said at the top of the show, a lot of the guys that have been there for 30, 25, 30, 40 years on assembly lines and stuff, and creating actual product. And but I was one of my friends gifted me just a box of hey, all the O-rings broke on my old GI Joes, and I don't know how to fix it, and I don't want it, and it's just like a mess. And I went to the cube next to me, this guy, Paul, who's been there forever and has been a mentor to me and just like, again, a master craftsman. He's a master model maker over there, but he had worked on Joe forever. And like he had a toolkit that he got from somebody else, but it was like a toolkit that worked on original Joe O-rings with like all the rubber bands and all like it's like a T-bar kind of thing that was in the crotch that held. So like that to me is like super special and like gives me I get goosebumps thinking about that being bestowed upon me like a badge of honor being at that company.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, what an absolute legacy. Going back to like the days of like the Kenner acquisition and the stuff that Hasbro has produced. I mean, it's one of the most iconic toy brands in the world. So
Yeah, yeah. And then like some of the oddball like customs I had done for Comic Cons and different pitches. So I kind of have some of that, like the like giant Galactus we had in one of the display cases that was monstrous. The orange Fing Fang Foom that we displayed, and then actually we had done a bunch. Me and Dwight had been pitching 6-inch GI Joes for a while, so I have some like OG customs that I made of GI Joes to try and sell in to the company. Where the company wasn't just ready yet at that time, and I'd seen a couple other iterations of 6-inch Joes since then. So it's just awesome to kind of be in the time period where that's a reality. But it's kind of cool to have those Joes that we pitched. I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
I was hoping you were going to bring up Randy Savage Deadpool.
Yes, I do have Randy Savage Deadpool, and
the ultimate crossover.
Yeah, and that was a shot across the bow because of
Yes.
that competitor product that kind of stole the show. But really good friends over there, Bill and Steve and Robert over at those guys have they're really good friends of mine, and I've known them for a while just from Comic Cons. I had to like kind of throw a little jab at them because of how cool their exclusive was. So they came over and looked at the case and like, oh, how dare you? But in a good way, I hope.
If there's one character that's going to break the fourth wall, be it on comic and a film and in a display case, it should be Deadpool. It makes sense.
Yeah, and that's and those little those little moments are to let people and collectors and the fandom know that like we all love each other, and like this should be celebrated and kind of like kind of joked about, and there's other people out there, not just this one central company, and it's just fun to give fans that kind of moment if they get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we can't wait until, I mean, the only event we've ever been to as Adventures in Collecting was New York Toy Fair, and we didn't know anybody. Like we knew absolutely nobody from the other toy bloggers to like people in the industry. We knew absolutely nothing. We were flying by the seat of our pants. Like I I was blissfully unaware that Hasbro was in a separate building. Like I'm walking around New York Toy Fair, I'm like, where's the Hasbro booth? Like, like just had no
Right?
idea. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
people are reporting stuff coming out of that, like out of the
Time building.
offsite you guys had, and
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, oh, I guess they're not in here. But like, since then, I mean, like, we're in New Jersey, so like, hopefully, if New York Comic Con happens this fall, maybe, knock on wood, like it's we're excited to be back in person and finally get to like meet some of the people
Actually
we've
meet
been
people.
spending
Yeah.
the last 2 years talking to. So yeah,
Oh my God, that's sorry. That's some of my favorite moments of my career is meeting fans at Comic Cons. Not even fans, just like-minded people. Just because I work on it doesn't mean I don't love it as much as everyone else, right? And have the same passion. So it's awesome to just talk to people in the community and like say, "Oh, do you see this figure over there? Oh my God, this is incredible!" And like be able to talk some process of what we do. But yeah, just like making connections not only throughout the industry at those shows and events. Meeting the guys at NECA and Mattel and all these other companies, but more importantly, like the people on the floor, because that's like an awesome gauge of diehard fans, right? They're paying the money to go to a show to come and literally talk to you as a representative. So being able to listen to their feedback, which is something I miss because social media, you get almost too much feedback, right? It's just like you listen to it and you take in constructive criticism, and that's my biggest thing. You can't hurt my feelings if you're giving me constructive criticism, um, and that's what a lot of the company kind of takes away, and a lot of people that I work with in the industry, like love constructive criticism because you're doing our job for us, right?
Market
why
research.
can't I get? Yeah, exactly. And it's usually stuff that we've already kind of thought of, honestly, and things that we wanted to do, and things that we hope to do later. So that kind of stuff I really miss, and I've made a lot of great friends, and I'm sure we would, Dave with his excitement at Comic-Con would probably blow the roof off the place. But I would love to talk to you guys at a previous show, and look forward to hopefully meeting you guys in person at another show upcoming. Hopefully when we get back to normal.
Yeah. Knock on wood. Knock on all
Yeah.
of the wooden surfaces. So lastly, before we let you go, tell us, where can we find where can they find you on social media? Where can we see your latest work?
Sure. Yeah, it's just at the Great Tonino on Instagram. Super new to the social media game, but just kind of saw the community growing there, and I just love the idea of kind of just images. So I was kind of skulking around, like watching everybody, and I said, I maybe might as well just kind of contribute and see if people find this interesting. So at the Great Tonino is where you can find my Instagram. That's pretty much my only social media outlet right now.
And of course, catch the latest projects and products from Hasbro on Pulse, right?
Oh God, yeah. At Hasbro Pulse. I figured everyone's already going over there, but at Hasbro Pulse is definitely all the ridiculous drops to the insane amount of work that that company's doing, and trying to put out a product that hopefully people want to buy.
Coming soon, the Hasbro Pulse Direct Deposit.
Yeah, believe me, they've got as much money as they've given me over the years. I think just the pre-orders are strong.
Well, listen, Tony, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Adventures in Collecting. This has been an awesome opportunity to hear more about a lot of the products that we love, and thank you for answering our questions, and thank you for answering the audience questions. But we're gonna let you go and let you get back to your evening, and probably working on more more products,
more
right?
Awesomeness.
Yeah, I will be wrapping another project up tonight. So you guys haven't kept me up. I would have been up. So thank you guys so much for having me on the show. Again, like I said, follow your page and use all of your links for pre-orders. So thank you guys for having me. It's been awesome talking to both of you.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.